OXO has a relatively new Conical Burr grinder, part of the Barista Brain series. I rated a review of the Barista Brain coffee maker earlier, and now that this is the accompanying grinder. They work great in conjunction because the doser on this thing is actually really convenient. You have the option to choose between a cup setting or a gram setting or an espresso setting. So let me just show you what this all means. Basically, there is an integrated scale at the bottom. So down here you have your scale, and you can remove this little tray here, and you can see that it's pretty sensitive. When you first get the grinder, you're going to need to tare it. So you see that it says 1 gram. It might say 45 grams, whatever the brew basket weighs, it might show. So in order to tare the scale, which it looks like it's magically done all of a sudden, you would hold down on this center button here, and once it gets past 3, 2, 1, and it's tared. Same thing for the cup setting. If, say, I wanted to choose 5 cups of coffee, I could do so. I believe that they define a cup as about 8 grams of coffee. And you can also adjust your dose. So if, say, you choose 4 cups, you brew what is 4 cups on your coffee maker. So say you're using the Barista Brain there in the background, you pour 4 cups of water into the reservoir, and it turns out that your coffee is too weak. You can adjust the strength for your next brew by moving this little thing here. For each setting, each knot, I believe it adds about 4 grams. Similarly, if it's too strong, you can reduce the dose. It isn't really a very intuitive scale. I've found I did have to go into the instruction manual. In general, I think this is a small price to pay for the convenience you'll ultimately get out of this grinder. Let's get to grinding. I'm going to show you the finest setting, the middle setting, and the coarsest setting. Okay, so you may have already seen Seattle Coffee Gear's review of this grinder and the different settings. I'm just going to show you close up in case you didn't get a good enough look, but this is the fine setting. And yes, it does get pretty fine, but I can confirm what Seattle Coffee Gear said. It basically was just short of fine enough for my pressy twist, which makes quote-unquote real espresso. So in other words, it uses a bottomless portafilter. If you're trying to make espresso with a bottomless portafilter, then this grinder won't be good enough, unfortunately. If you have no idea what bottomless portafilter means, then you're probably set and you have a pressurized portafilter on your machine, which this will be good enough for. And there's a look at the medium setting. So this is where I think the OXO Barista Brain shines. It's pretty consistent, and I think given the convenience, this is a great electric burr grinder for people who are making drip coffee. Last but not least is French press grind. And I found that this is really pretty inconsistent. There's a lot of fines in there go along with coarse ground. So French press users, I think you're better off with another type of grinder. I will say that this does a better job with coarse grinds than my Breville Smart Grinder Pro, and I'm actually going to do a comparison video later on so you can see. So this is another thing that Seattle Coffee Gear mentioned, and something that I also noticed. That is that the scale is about 1.5 grams off. So what do I mean by that? So let's say that I want to grind 7 grams of coffee. So what I'm going to do here to just test for accuracy is I'm going to tare it on my other scale. Okay, so let's grind 7 grams. 8.8. So 8.8 grams, that's almost 2 grams over. The scale isn't 100% accurate. If you actually want 7 grams, you should probably choose 6. You know, when you're making drip coffee, in my opinion, 1 gram isn't going to make as big of a difference as it would for, say, espresso. One cool thing about this burr grinder that isn't necessarily unique, because a lot of burr grinders do it these days, but you can unlock the hopper by just pressing down this lever and turning, and it actually holds most of your beans. It will have some remaining beans that are already past the hopper, but this valve closes once the hopper's been removed. That's good if you tend to store a lot of coffee in your hopper. So overall, I think this is a pretty nice grinder. I especially like it in conjunction with their brewer, and the reason I like it in conjunction is because of that cup selection setting that it has. And I think it's really cool that you can just, you know, select your number of cups and then put it in your filter basket, and then put in the respective amount of water in the reservoir. Makes it really simple for dosing. Having said that, the dosing isn't that accurate. As I showed, it's about 1.5 grams to 2 grams off. You need to account for that. For people that don't want an extra scale, I think this is a good option. It's certainly a lot cheaper than any comparable grinders, and I say comparable meaning a grinder with a built-in scale. Popular one would be like the Barista Preciso, I believe. It has a built-in scale, but it retails at about $500. So that grinder is more for it's like a prosumer model. People that are making home espresso will definitely want to consider that if they're looking for a grinder with a built-in scale. If a built-in scale isn't your thing, if you don't have a problem with dosing and you're more concerned with consistency, grind consistency, and a quieter grinder, then in my opinion there are better options out there. Lido is a great hand grinder option in terms of consistency, and I think Barista also will get you very good consistency for coarser settings such as French press, and potentially for drip as well. This also has a pretty steep learning curve. You're definitely going to want to look at the manual. So bottom line, if you're somebody who brews with auto drip or even pour over and want a quick and easy way to dose, then this is a great option for sure. It will save you some time and extra equipment, so you don't have to get a scale in addition. If you're doing pour over though, you will need a scale anyway to measure your water. So this is really only best suited for somebody who's using an auto drip machine, in my opinion. French press, I think that the grind is a little bit too inconsistent. And then for espresso, if you use a pressurized portafilter, this is actually a good option in my opinion, because like I said already, dosing is going to be pretty easy, quick and painless. So again, auto drip and pressurized portafilter, this is a good option for sure. Any of the other stuff, so if you're brewing with French press, as I said, or if you're making real espresso with a bottomless portafilter, or even if you're brewing with a mocha pot or a siphon or pour over, then I would look elsewhere, potentially at a hand grinder like the Lido or Barista, and potentially a Breville Smart Grinder Pro, which I'm going to do a head-to-head with in my next video. Please feel free to leave me any questions in the comments below. If you found this review helpful, please subscribe, share, thumbs up. Thank you. Thanks.